nothing but a sinking ship. Don't do this to me, Harry. The Ohio State. It's Ohio State. What do you mean, the? 312-988-15.
Hello?
You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. Yeah, that's right. You guys are hilarious, man. This chat is amazing. All the things you're saying are hilarious. And I think we're just in the part of the year where everybody's losing their mind because there isn't enough football going on. I know I've been out of my routine or whatever, but everything just feels weird. Nobody likes it. I need football again. This is just awkward. I don't like this in-between stuff. I'm starting to feel better, by the way. I'm starting to feel a little better. Although you guys are giving me a hard time, calling me like the bubble boy or whatever for being sick. I didn't used to get sick like this till I had a little kid. What are you supposed to do when your 4-year-old comes home from school and she's got the flu from school, and then you gotta take care of her, and then that's how I get the flu? That ain't my fault. What do you want me to do? She comes home sick. You got to take care of her. That's how I got it. Is that really on my immune system? I didn't have these problems before I had a kid. Oh, man, we got a couple callers. I'm coming to you. Oh, man. Listen, I am. Somebody said this in the chat. It's like, after the rush of December and January and all that stuff, right? Like after the stress and being wound so tight and every game is the biggest game in the world and all that, then we crashed out, right? We crashed out after the Ohio State game. I think everybody's emotions and nerves were burnt to a crisp. And everybody needed a little bit of time to like reset, recharge, kind of let things calm down. I feel like that took a couple weeks, and now everybody's like starving for football again. That's where I'm at. And you ain't going to get it. I mean, you're going to get blue and gold, and then we're going to have, it's going to be a long summer getting us to old Miami there. It's going to be rough. Swan Dong. Hopefully the trolls don't show up and make John end the show early. We'll see how long we're going to go today. I'm feeling a little better. I'm not 100%. So we'll see how long we're going to go. We're not going to go forever today. So welcome in, everybody. I want to talk about wherever you want to go. Again, the off season is for wherever you want to go. Couple callers, we're going to come to you, and then you could go on with your day. We'll get you started. And wherever you want to go in the off season is fine. I'm going to remind you guys of that. You know, whenever we're in one of these lulls in the football calendar, whatever topic I have is what I come up with to fill the show for that day. But it is free range. Do what you want. Talk about what you want about whatever's on your mind. I know Mark has a dissertation he's been working on to present to the group. Whatever you guys want to do, I'm fine with. So just know that, you know, I come up with these topics just so we have something to kind of focus on for the day. But you're not limited to that. So you could do whatever you want to do. Dan says Notre Dame about to get squeezed by the SEC in the Big Ten. It's interesting. That's an interesting angle, and that's some of what I want to talk about today. And we'll see what's going on. Commander, what is your problem? What is your problem already with my video just saying that the casual nature with which USC's AD was talking about canceling that series rubs me the wrong way. It rubs me the wrong way. It's just 100 years of history. Forget it. Like, what, 100 years of history, our biggest rival? Forget it, man. We're doing something new now. We got to fly around to play our games. I guess we need to cancel Notre Dame. I don't know. And then I got people saying maybe USC is getting told by the Big Ten to do this or whatever. Fine. But then if I'm USC's AD, and I'm getting this pressure from the Big Ten, I'm mentioning that when I'm talking about this. I got a couple people that callers have coming to you. I got a couple people that emailed me saying they think it's the Big Ten is kind of telling them to do this to kind of force Notre Dame or fine. But if I'm USC's AD and I'm having that discussion or I'm talking about it, I'm bringing that up in discussions with the Big Ten. We may have to do something or whatever. I'm doing that because unless you're an idiot who wants to be the AD that cancels one of the best rivalries in college football, contrasting values. That's the best part about that rivalry is it's Notre Dame values and it's weird Hollywood, LA values and all that stuff. Like, so if I'm that AD and I'm getting pressure from the conference, I'm bringing that up because I don't want it to look like I'm the one wussing out of this series. So that's my pushback. Would be that if it really is the Big Ten pressuring USC to do this, she should have brought that up so everybody doesn't crap on her. So I don't know, man. What are Notre Dame values? Picture whatever you think LA and USC values are and then flip it and do the opposite. There you have. That's what I mean by Notre Dame values. Flip it. Being a good person. How about that? Not living a superficial life where you take every shortcut to get ahead. There's a couple examples because that's what I think of LA. Everybody there is on their version of what their con job is to get ahead of this life and roll over everybody in the meantime. I must be feeling a little better. I'm yelling already. All right, let's get into this. We got callers, and I'm going to give it to you guys. So I'll just hand it over to you guys. I'll do a couple chats so we get caught up. Go to the callers so then nobody can accuse me of making them wait a half hour. Okay. Ronald saying ND must join. ND must join. Well, it's the big slow. What's up, Kent? Hope you had a good birthday, buddy. Brendan McGrath music, not all of us. God bless you, stuck there in LA. We need some of our values out there to balance us out. Balance us out a little bit. Oh, man. That's funny. That is funny. How much time you got, buddy? Yeah, you want to know the difference between Notre Dame values and LA values? How much time you got, buddy? In LA, they think they're the best dancers. That skit is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. And I'll never get over it. It is the funniest thing in the world. Caden the man made another video. Call it out, John. It's the old philosophy, you guys. If a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to see it or hear it, did a tree fall in the woods or what? You know what, though? So if you record a video making fun of John and no one sees it, did you really make a video making fun of John? God bless Caden the man. I actually kind of am starting to think he is the man, the way he's donating me all of his allowance. And the other thing I want to ask is, I want to take it easy on that guy because I'm not sure what the deal is. And I'm not exactly sure what we're dealing with. Are you picking up what I'm putting down when I'm like, I'm kind of going to start treading lightly because I'm not sure. I don't know if we're dealing with full deck cards. And so I want to kind of be nice, but I'll take those $2 hollers. Let's get through the introduction so I could get Swan Dong. You're not far off. Change a couple of those letters. Oh, man. Whoo. Oh, man. Yeah, so I want to tread lightly there because I'm not sure what we're dealing with, and I want to be cognizant of that. But I accept the $2 hollers. I accept the $2 hours. I'll start calling you the man. You give me all your allowance. Maybe your title isn't wrong. As always, you can find the program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps Johnny Boy out as well. Notifications on. That way you don't miss nothing. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish, Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want it, you can get it. Call in lines, you know it, 312-900-8815. Dialed up, tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Notre Dame Fighting Irish brought to you by SI. Read all about it. I'm back up and writing. I can look at the screen without getting nauseous. I'm back up and writing. Patreon.com/Always Irish. Thank you for the kind words on the Monday Night Raw. That we had some fun on those. Those are, you can let it rip, man. You're on Patreon. You can let it rip, kind of space out a little bit, and it's just got a different feel. Thanks to all the compliments and everybody that was there. People specifically liked my description of Under Armour cleats for Notre Dame guys. That was the highlight segment of the day, for sure. So thanks for being here. Let's do a couple of the chats, and then we'll go right to the calls, and we'll see what we got popping here. Look at Mark. He's on hold. I need this dissertation. It's hot take season. I was going to call in with a hot take, but it turns out I'm not quite ready. You got to get it ready. Might need JCar to look over the homework there so you don't embarrass yourself. Mark, you've been here a long time. You've heard some of these calls. It takes a lot. It takes a lot on the Always Irish call-in lines for it to go real bad on you. Making fun of me and my sinuses. No doubt that Indiana game really messed me up. I actually felt pretty decent for that, other than my nerves and anxiety. Nikki Dean loves to be heard and seen, and hopefully I'll hear and see him at the blue and gold game. How many times John going to say to the callers, I'm coming to you? I got over 10. Look at this from Mark. He probably gets sick so much from eating like a war prisoner. Are you going to eat that plain loaf of bread? If you're not, give it to me. Are you going to eat all of your saltine chip dinner, or do you got any for Johnny Boy here? I'll take it off your hands. I hope he yells at Caden again. That was awesome. I'm going to take it easy on the kid. I'm going to take it easy on the kid. I ain't sure what we're dealing with, and I want to tread lightly. Mikey Pauls, good to see you, man. I was thinking about you the other day. Good to see you in here. Tomatoes. I don't eat tomatoes. It's a texture thing, man. I can't. There's something about the texture of a tomato cut up. I can't handle it, man. I'm a texture guy. I can't do it. Bananas, same thing. The texture is a big deal to me. I just can't. Look at this, J Carr. I've been putting do-rag filters on my 2-week-old niece. It gives me so much joy to teach the youth the ways of the do-rag. Mikey, this is exactly where I'm at. Callers, I'm coming to you in literally 1 minute. I promise you. It isn't going to, I promise. That first month off from ND is nice. I'm ready to ramp back up. Still a long way to go. That's exactly where I'm at, you guys. After the come down from Ohio State, I needed to recharge. I was just drained, emotionally drained, physically, my brain, everything, just burnout. I needed a couple weeks to get my head back on straight after the come down of the Ohio State situation. And then that leads us to now where we're all like, oh man, I need spring football fast. And then I don't even want to think about summer. It's going to be a long summer. There's something about Notre Dame's playoff run and all that, and like Notre Dame being more competitive than we're used to, that it makes you want more of it right away, and I don't want to wait. It's just going to be a long summer, but we're going to be here together. We're going to be here together. G Bank. I know the blue gold game doesn't carry much weight, but I'm looking forward to it. I think on the surface, it's the most compelling one in years with the QB battle. I agree with that. You know what people close to the program would say. That scrimmage they do before blue and gold, the staff values more than blue and gold. Blue and gold's more of an exhibition for us, but they do that scrimmage before a closed scrimmage, and that's what they value the most. But for us, we want to see these quarterbacks. I want to see this Ash defense. I don't know how much you're going to see different, But those are the two biggest storylines of spring, and I don't really think that's in doubt. Don't you guys agree? It's the quarterback battle and what's going to happen with Ash at DC. So I don't know. Josh Miller, great Monday Night Raw. Really appreciate that, man. Thanks. We like doing it. It's fun over there. We have a good time. Yeah, the Jersey scrimmage, they call it. Commander, $5 holler. Thank you for being a good sport, John. I'd like to apologize to the group for absolutely nothing. Have a great day, everyone. Wasn't that the old Conor McGregor? Is he Conor McGregor, the one that was just like, I want to apologize to everybody for absolutely nothing? Commander, that matches you perfectly. Tom Frolly, Chicago's very own. It's good to see you here. All right, let's get to these callers. That's about the earliest I'm ever going to start with the calls. Let's get into it. 415, what's going on? Good morning, sir.
Good morning, John. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing better than I have been doing. I've been fighting it a little bit, but I'm doing better. I got a 574 next, and then Mark with Glasses dissertation coming up. I'm doing okay, my man. What's on your mind? Do you feel what I'm describing of like needing a little break, but now that's over and you're ready for football again, or where are you at?
Yeah, definitely. There was this moment of like, okay, I just need to like kind of get away for a minute, right?
Yeah.
But as so many different things have been popping up in the college football landscape, it just draws you back in. It's like that tractor beam, and I'm just sitting here like, okay, now I'm fully in. Because I mean, with what they're doing right now, with the possibility of, well, not even possibility, probability of the expansion of the college football playoff, as well as how it's being formatted between the SEC and the Big Ten and all the different rights that are going into it, it makes me almost infuriated as a Notre Dame fan, because it's like, of course, the big boys are wanting to push everybody else around. You know, they want to throw their weight around. And so, yes, to answer your question in short, I had a little bit of a break, sort of, but now I'm just fully back into it.
Yeah. And I think for me, a part of it is Notre Dame having a really like successful year overall and taking these major steps. It kind of like makes me want more sooner, if that makes sense in a way. Like, I just want to see what comes next, or if you can maintain this. And spring ball is going to be really, really interesting in a different way than we're used to the last couple of years with the quarterback thing and everything else. But what do you want to focus on? Do you want to think about this expansion and what it might do? Does it help Notre Dame? Does it hurt Notre Dame? What does it do to the regular season? How does it change conference championships? Does Notre Dame have any power in this at all? Or is it just the big two? Like, we could attack this from any angle you wish.
Yeah. And John, I think we could literally talk about this for about 2 hours straight. And because there's so many different nuances and different angles that you can look at this from. If I'm looking at it from a Notre Dame's perspective, like just a Notre Dame fan, I'm getting a little bit irritated because of the fact that now they want, like the SEC and the Big Ten reportedly want 4 guaranteed slots.
Yep.
In an expanded college football playoff. Well, if that's 8 teams right there, and right now we're at 12, but they're probably going to bump it to 14 or 16, that's starting to squeeze the amount of other teams from around the leagues, right? And for Notre Dame, does it make it easier for us to get in? In essence, yes. And the reason why is because now that 1 loss, or maybe even 2 loss, and there's a possibility we're in. So I'm okay with that kind of idea, because if you're a Notre Dame fan, you want the most probability of us getting back into the playoffs, because, I mean, how awesome and how exciting was that entire season? But from the other side, you're looking at it like, well, they're getting a little bit more, obviously, because now who would be into it, right? If you're looking at it from last year's rankings, Alabama, Ole Miss, like these other teams that, didn't get in are now in. When you're sitting there looking at it like, well, when is enough enough? And one other thing I'm going to bring up that I haven't heard anybody talking about, like in the mass media, is the fact that these are college kids. Some of them are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, right? And we're trying to put on more games. and put them into this NFL type style of a league play. And it's like, you know, you got to think about it. They don't just like get out and then just go study the film. They get out, they study the film, then they're studying for their master's degree or whatever it might be, their undergraduate. And they have a lot to do just on the side, just as a kid in college. So it's just like, you know, I understand that the almighty dollar is going to run things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to look at it from a humanistic standpoint for these kids of when is too much, you know, just enough.
Yeah. It's just, this is the most predictable thing of all time, though, is it not? That you have a good thing and it brings in a lot of money, and then naturally the human inclination is to want more of a good thing that everybody enjoys that brings in a lot of money. And then now, before you know it, like here we go again with the expansion thing. So they're talking about 4 and 4, and then 2 each guaranteed from the ACC and the Big 12. And then 1 for the highest group of 5. And then Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame fits in there wherever they fit in there, right? Like, and so I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just, are they ever going to turn down money? Like, isn't that what it comes down to? Because like even the playoff games that were not that competitive, everybody wanted to watch them and they were still entertaining, and it was better than no college football. So like, do they have the fortitude to eventually cut this off? And even when you know more games is more money, and that's just a damn guarantee. More games is more money, and that's a guarantee. Does anybody in that room have the inclination of like, where is the line that it's too far? How far does this keep going?
Well, I think, you know, what I think might happen is where the players will actually dictate it, because if you have certain players like further down the road, like let's just say 4, 5, 6 years down the road, if we have a situation where a top 5, top 10 player gets hurt in these playoff games and is now not going to be able to go into the NFL draft the way that they thought, right? Who was it? Our linebacker back in the day playing against Ohio State, Smith, right? And now he drops in the draft. You're going to see a lot of players that might sit there and say, I'm not going to be playing 16, 17 games.
Yeah.
I'm going in the NFL where there's going to be a lot more money. And so if they start sitting out and you start seeing that kind of stuff, the players will dictate it. Is the way I think.
That's a really interesting angle. Do you remember when it was a big deal? I love that you brought this up. You're good. Remember when it was a big deal when it first started to become a trend that some players weren't playing in bowl games to get ready for the NFL combine and the draft and all that? And I remember it being like a big deal when people started opting out of those games, and then it became more accepted, and then the money. What do you do if that starts hitting playoff teams? I don't know what you do, but and then the thing is, all it takes is 1 or 2 of those guys to break the mold and go, look, I'm looking out for the future of my family, not this university or whatever, and I'm out. And all it takes is a couple people to break that mold, and then let them kind of take any backlash for like, how are you going to bail on a playoff team when your team can win a championship? And then you may have more of those guys doing that. And so I don't know, man. I don't know. And the other part of this too is, what does this do to the regular season? The more you expand the net of margin of error for like you being able to lose a few games and still get in and all that, aren't you by default, by definition, watering down the regular season games when each one means less? You're going to end up with teams with 4 losses making the playoff if you're expanding this much with guaranteed stuff, are you not? So what does it do to the regular season?
Yeah, it does. I think it can have the effect of watering it down. However, I don't know that it would be enough to take the pedal off the metal, so to speak. As far as us sitting here saying that we have to win every game, I still feel like we as Notre Dame are still in that, kind of realm, because of the fact that there's so many teams that are now guaranteed coming out of these other conferences. We can't sit there and get into a debate on whether or not a 2-loss or even 3-loss Notre Dame should be in versus one of these other teams from the SEC or Big Ten that could possibly push us out because they have more guaranteed rights. So I think it could water it down a little bit, but I do believe that it's not going to be enough for us to sit there and say, oh, well, it's okay that we lost to so-and-so,
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about that. Where I am more concerned, though, John, is this idea that whether it's the Big Ten pushing SC out or whatever, where we might lose the tradition of college football. This is one of the things that we were talking about when where the conferences were just, melting away and turning into something else. The whole Pac-10, Pac-12 idea is gone for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Now SC is over in the Big Ten. Now we're looking at, is SC not going to play against us? There's certain traditions that, college football could lose because of the fact that they have guaranteed, or they want to push to guaranteed 8 to 9.
Okay. And you know what they might lose? You know what you might lose?
Yeah.
What if all this goes through and you expand to the level they're speaking and there's this many guaranteed bids from the major 2 conferences or whatever? What does that do to conference championships? Have you thought of that? And especially when you look at the experimentation of this first year of the 12-teamer, the teams that allegedly had the advantage of not having to play round 1 did not fare well, and Notre Dame was a part of that equation. I'm wondering, if you do all this and you're guaranteeing 8 spots from the Big 2, what does that do to conference championships? Because to be honest, who in the hell wants to play in that game? It doesn't seem like it's a big advantage. And the shine is going off being the SEC champion and all that. And then when you go right into the playoff, and that's what it's all about. The shine has gone off winning those conferences as like a big achievement compared to what you see in the playoff. So what are they going to do about conference championships? Just award it to the team with the best conference record? Who wants to play in those games now?
Exactly. That's exactly what it's going. It's going to a point where if you win the conference, meaning the regular season conference, and you're like the number 1 or number 2, then there's a possibility that they might not even play in a conference championship. There is a possibility, even though as far-fetched as it seemed just a year or 2 ago, that we could be going into a new era of college football where there is not conference championships, where it's just a conference champion and then a runner-up, and then possibility of like play-in games for the back 4. Yeah. There's a possibility of that. That to me,
that's a really interesting angle.
Again,
that's an interesting
angle. Money driven. It's money driven, John, and it drives me crazy because I'm very much a traditionalist. And that's a big thing about Notre Dame that obviously drove me in as well when I was a kid. It's just I love the tradition of it. I love the history of it. I love the story of it. And here we are, and we're talking about changing and rewriting the story. And I understand that happens in sports. I understand that the way baseball is being played, or the way that basketball or football or this, it doesn't matter what it is, things change. I get it. But at the same time, sometimes I think for the fan, it comes off too drastic, and it's too much of a change all at once. We just switched to 12 teams. Now, because a couple coaches are like, I don't even know if I want to play in the conference championship. Why would I want to do that? And they're absolutely right, because of the way the format and the way things are moving, right? So I don't know. I mean, this next year, from what I understand, 2025 is going to stay the same, but 2026, they're going to be making a number of different changes. And then for the next 5 years after that, until 2031, where all the contracts are up, right? So now we're going to see an even bigger realignment come 5 years after that. So look, like another 6 or 7 years from now, and I know we're like, fast forwarding quite a bit, we could be looking at a completely different game in terms of the format. But what I want to kind of end with it on this one is it still comes down to football. It still comes down to getting on the field. No matter what the formats are, no matter how they kind of skew it out, it still comes down to getting on the field and putting your best foot forward and winning those games.
Yeah.
And just trying to segment into that, what Freeman's doing with the general manager positions, with all the different coaching positions, with the carousel that we're dealing with, I think he is building a team around him of leadership that is literally going to take us into the next 5 or 6 years and make us successful in every year, not just every other year or every 2 to 3 years. I really, truly believe he's making it so that we will be successful because he sees the writing on the wall and he understands it.
Yeah, it's man, it's a changing world, and we're, so beholden, especially in Notre Dame land. You're so beholden to history and a lot of that stuff. But I understand that like things change. But I think it's a little uncomfortable if you're in the Notre Dame camp because the change isn't all within your power, and I would feel a little outnumbered at that table, and it is very, very clear. 2 conferences are driving all of this stuff, and they have the power, and they're wielding the big stick. And so we just need to see where it goes. I mean, Pete Babak was going to have his head in there pushing for Notre Dame and making sure we were, alive and well in all this. It's just you're severely outnumbered at this table. Anything else, my friend? Really, really good call to start a Wednesday.
Yeah, I appreciate it, John. It's good to hear you with a little bit more pep in your step. I'm glad you're feeling better, my friend.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm blaming my 4-year-old, man. I'm not blaming my immune system. She comes home sick from school. You got to deal with her. Then you get sick. I'm blaming her.
That's how I get sick. My kids come home from school and I just know within about a week's time. I'm like, okay, there we go.
That's exactly what happened to me. And it was like it was literally 4 to 5 days. It was literally right what it was. And I'm like, oh no, here we go. So, hey man, I really appreciate the call. Really, really good call. Good way to start the Wednesday, man. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
You got it, John. Take care.
Have a good one. What a nice guy and a good caller. I'm doing a timeout for the nose already. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm struggling. When is it going to be warm? It's minus 80 degrees here. I already feel like a noose. Give me a break. I'm back. I'm back. If you want to hold, you're going to be on the air. Let's do a couple more chats and to keep caught up, and we'll go right back. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. And that much I can promise. Even WPP's got to laugh at this one. WPP going to be mad if we score too many points in the spring game. Boo! This is against our values. Take a knee. I definitely think USC is going to end the rivalry. Man, if this happens and Notre Dame loses their number 1 historical cross-country rivalry, let it be up from their side and let it be known that the Big Ten and them are making that decision. That's my only, I don't know anything else to say other than if this is going to happen, make sure it's known that it's from their end and not our end. I don't know what else to say. Timothy Bush, not Reggie. That's different. Big Ten pushing USC to end the rivalry with ND. Whatever, man. Is that an attempt to eventually force Notre Dame to fold and get in with the conference full time? I don't know. Dan says the championship must be much sooner than January. Wasn't it the 20th, I think it was for us? How do you do that? You're going to have to, some of it has to do with what you're going to do with conference championship week, what you're going to do with that, and how to space all this out so you don't run into almost February, I guess. G-Bank, here's a crazy idea. How about it's just the best 12 to 14 teams? See, but the SEC and the Big Ten, they don't want to open themselves up to that. What if they all beat each other up and then they don't end up as highly ranked or whatever? Like, they want these guaranteed. If you have 4 from each, you're going to end up with 4 lost somewhere. You're going to end up with an 8-4 team that's got a shot for a championship. So I don't know whether that's good or bad for the sport or whatever. That's fine. Roger Dodger, the resident Trojan. If people hate California, don't visit and go on with your life. I plan to do exactly that. I haven't gone back since I almost drowned in that stupid big ocean you got. Son of a buck. There was a moment there. I know I'm dramatic, but there was honestly a moment where I looked up at the sky and I was like, this might be it. I don't know if I'm getting out of this. What do you? Never again going in that stupid ocean. Waves going in my blowhole. Snorkel. Just go out there. Doggy paddle. Waves coming in my blowhole. How are you supposed to breathe? Never again. Ronald. John, Notre Dame will not win the big one till they recruit in the top 5. The rest is just noise. I get what you're saying. I agree with it to a large extent. I'm not going to say they will not win the big one, but it's less likely they win the big one and get over the ultimate hump unless recruiting improves a little bit. Think about the difference 1 or 2 more like 5 stars on each side of the ball would make. That seems like a lot, but in a couple recruiting cycles, it really isn't. Get 1 or 2 more guys. It's like a Bryce Young that could go play right away, a KVA that could go play right away, a Leonard Moore. Find me offensively. Goolsby always talks about this. There's a lot to like about the development and the identifying of these defensive guys. You need to get more of that action on the offensive side of the ball. Goolsby talks about it all the time. He's like, John, let's not blend all that good evaluation and all that stuff and guys that can play young. That has largely been a defensive thing lately at Notre Dame. You got to get more of those guys on the offensive side of the ball. But Ronald, I'm with you. You got to at least get those classes all inside the top 10, baby. All inside the top 10, Ronald. WP. Ronald, can you come to the Blue and Gold and bring a bunch of hash browns and stuff and dress up? We'll make you a little McGriddle there and you can flip some stuff in the parking lot. Wear your wig. Just don't catch it on fire. WPP, $20 hour. Next shoe to drop in college football. Lawsuit that challenges 3 years in college before the NFL rule. At this point, they're all professionals already, and there's no reason to keep 18-year-olds out of the NFL. That's interesting. WPP. Also, thank you for your contributions on the Monday night show. Homer TD, good to see you here, Tony. Glad you're on the men. Hope to see you in a few weeks here. The argument, WPP, the argument I've always heard is that, like, when people ask why were the NBA guys like LeBron or whatever, wasn't it Kobe and LeBron or whatever, able to go at 18 years old and go right into the NBA or whatever? And I've always just understood it was the physical difference between the grind of having to play basketball versus football. And the concept is like you could be 18 and be good enough to play basketball, but like the bodies need more time to develop in college. But WPP, you are right. Money and finances change everything, and it changes the way you're going to look at all these kids. When it's all this money, it's going to change things. Caden, the man, is here. He's here. You know what? I miss Omar, man. Anybody check on Omar? We lose to Ohio State. I haven't seen Omar since. He was the timekeeper. He was the referee here. He boosted my ego by hitting on me on the live stream every single week. Where's Omar? What's going on? The guy disappeared. I got used to him telling me I was looking good every day. Callers up coming to you. WPP, $10 hour. Response to that argument. Jay Love was tackled by 4 NFL linemen on January 20th, but he cannot get tackled by those 4 same linemen in an NFL preseason game in 6 months. Yeah, WPP. I mean, I get what you're saying. Thanks a lot, Sniper. I appreciate that. It just doesn't hit the same as compared to when Omar does it. And the funniest thing about Omar, I'm coming to you, callers. The funniest thing about Omar was, bro, I have no idea who that guy is. That is not like an ongoing running joke the way Omar interacted with me and like I know who he is and he's here to help the show. Omar just showed up out of nowhere. I had no idea who that guy is. I've never interacted with him. He's not like a friend of mine offline that's doing this for fun and we have this relationship. I have no idea who Omar is. And then he showed up one day telling me I look good. And then he became the timekeeper. I don't know. 574. And if you're on hold, you're going to be on the line. I got Mark in Chicago's very own coming up as well. I'm excited. 574, lovely South Bend area. What's going on?
Oh, just watching recaps of season highlights to pass the time.
Oh man, dude, are you feeling what I was saying where like you needed a little break to kind of regather yourself after the run, and then now that's over and I'm ready for more football than we can have right now? That's where I'm at.
Where I'm at right now is I'm also excited for the off season because I'm an addict for like recruiting news and where the program goes from there, things like that. So I like last year and the year before, it was exciting. This year it's going to probably be even better since we're in the hunt for more talent than we were in years past.
Yeah, it's man, it's just and the other part is it's just change. And the more this game, with the playoff and everything is changing and the way you build your programs changing, it's been an interesting experience following all of the GM stuff just because it's a newer position and nobody quite knew what the requirements were, what the candidate pool was. Like all of this is changing a lot quicker than we're used to than when I was growing up, man. Change is coming quick to college football. You better either get with it or get left behind, right?
Well, that's basically the gold standard right now is you got to keep up with the times. I mean, if Notre Dame didn't try to, keep up with where college football is now, we would be in the same shoes as USC. And how USC is trying to copy our formula, which too little, too late. It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's complicated. And I guess I wonder on a bigger scale, where exactly do you see Notre Dame fitting into all this? Do you think we're going to be able to continue to exist as the independent in this growing playoff thing and make that work for us? Or do you think we're going to get squeezed here by the big two to where, people don't want to schedule you and they all kind of agree to that behind the scenes and then it's harder for Notre Dame to schedule? Like, do you think we eventually get squeezed or can we make it the way we're making it?
I don't think so. I don't think we'll be squeezed. The reason I say that is because even if USC were to drop us, I would say big deal because USC has not done anything for Notre Dame. We have helped USC more than they've helped us. I mean, it's not the early 2000s anymore when this was a good game. We're literally too comfortable watching Notre Dame beat the crap out of them literally every year other than the 1 year with Caleb Williams. That's it. USC has been nothing but a downgraded program for the last 15 years.
Isn't it 6 out of the last 7, right? Notre Dame 6 of the last 7, only losing to that one, the Heisman Caleb year, right? I mean, that is a pretty lopsided situation.
It's a very lopsided rivalry. And yes, it's one of the oldest rivalries in college football, and I do hate them more than what I'm probably sounding like to you. But honestly, if they are going to drop us, replace them with somebody like Miami, who's in a better spot in college football than USC is. Plus, it's probably going to get more viewers to watch the game anyway.
Yeah, it would.
And you still have that notion of blue collar versus.
Yeah, I get that.
High living. It's Miami versus South Bend, Indiana. You're still getting the same message across.
But man, doesn't it, like with the 6 out of 7 and all this? Like, I understand in the history of college football, a lot of these rivalries are cyclical in nature of who's up and down and all that. I understand that, but on a bigger scale, if you zoom out, Notre Dame being an independent our whole lives, and all this. It would honestly be sad to me to lose our number one rivalry. Like, I hate them, but I like playing the game. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that would suck because you're Notre Dame and you're not in a conference. So like, it would hurt me to lose our number one rival every year. Like, that just is a little empty to me. I would not love it.
I hear you, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. This could just be whatever news. And the reason why I say that is because I actually have family that are USC fans, and every Christmas I give them shit. But I had a conversation about that the other day with them, and they said, if we were to stop this game, we will never hear the end of "we ran away from Notre Dame."
Yeah. It's
That's the message.
Yeah.
We ran away from you. We didn't quit the series. No, we ran away. And that's what history is going to see it too.
Yeah, it is. Man, I just, this stuff's getting, it's just, I wonder if there's a governor on any of this stuff. Like, or does it just keep going? Like when you have money involved to the extent that it is now, that's what makes me nervous about anything applying the brakes to any of this stuff. When you just look at the money and the attention and the media it gets, it just makes it hard for me to see people having a mature governor of where is too far.
Here's another question I have for you, though. Would you trade the USC rivalry to get the Michigan rivalry back?
Oh, man. I want the history.
Because the next time we play them is 2033.
Yeah, it's at the big house.
Where the USC Notre Dame game gets cut, I'd be very happy to reschedule Michigan every year again.
Yeah, but in this theory, why would they do that? Like, if the Big Ten wants USC to not do this, why would Michigan do it? They're in the same boat, right?
Well, Ohio State will still schedule us.
Man, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this. I don't know where it all falls. And you know what else pisses me off too? I keep hearing this argument that it's unfair that Notre Dame got to keep all of that playoff money that they earned and not have to divide it out or whatever. I keep seeing that written and talked about. Why is it fair Notre Dame gets to keep all that money or whatever? Here's my comeback. It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword, though, because if Notre Dame misses the playoff, they get zero. You get nothing. So it's a big risk. It's a big risk for Notre Dame betting on themselves. If you make it, you get all the money. And if you don't make it, you get no money. That is the most purest version of the sport there is. It's all based on you.
I'll tell you why, though, that story is so big. It's because people were paid to spread that story out. You have people that work for either the Big Ten or the SEC for reporters, and they'll push that story out there because their bosses, whose bosses are part of the conferences, are telling us to say that saying so that we can spread the rumor out there that Notre Dame is completely breaking the rules and getting more money than they should compared to everybody else, which is they're missing the whole point. The whole point is literally, if we didn't make it and push that far into the playoffs, we wouldn't have made as much money. We had to be good to be that much money. And if we didn't make it, everybody in the entire country made more money than us.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to tell that to people. You were just saying that we made too much money.
Yeah, it's so I don't know, man. I'm glad Bavakwa has a seat at the table, but you are severely outnumbered. And it's just, and it makes you wonder how Notre Dame threads this needle and can fight for themselves, but also be a part of the group. It is not the most comfortable thing to negotiate. Let's just be honest. Bavakwa's in a tight spot, walking that thin line of us trying to maintain independence, but also trying to be a part of this group. And it's just not the easiest needle to thread.
Honestly, the way I see things happening is in the future, they're only going to expect teams to have either one or two quality wins. And if that's how they're going to see who makes the playoffs, then all Notre Dame has to do is just rely on the ACC agreement we have and just schedule Miami and Clemson every year. That's it.
Man, this is going to be, I don't know where this is headed, man, but I know this. Once playoff time rolled around, it was just like must-see TV, everything on full blast, full tilt emotion, anxiety, nerves, the excitement. Yeah, I'm not denying the experience was not fantastic. I just wonder if you stretch it too far, if it starts to take away from the overall point of all this. Or I don't know where it's going to go, but you got to trust Pete Bavakwa has Notre Dame's best interest in mind and is going to find a way to thread these needles. I don't know.
Here's my question in all this, and the last caller made me think about this. How we're relying on 19, 20, 21-year-olds to entertain an entire nation for 16 games. I know Notre Dame is taking care of its student athletes, obviously. and so does other programs like Stanford and a lot of other Ivy League schools do as well. But what about the other teams that are basically just state colleges like Michigan State, Alabama, or even South Carolina? What are you doing for your athletes that are going to prepare them after college if they're not going to make it in the NFL?
Oh, forget it.
Are they just people that have just signed up for like 5 or 6 online courses, and then when they graduate, they didn't really learn anything?
Yes.
And then just like, well, thanks for playing with us. Here's a small check.
That's exactly it. They're mercenaries. And most of these institutions, these people are mercenaries. I don't care what the coach says. They don't really care if those guys get a degree or what happens to them after. Let's just be honest. It's one of the biggest charades in the college game, is that a lot of these coaches care about the academic side or how these people end up doing after school. I'm jaded. I don't think they care that much. What can you do for me now to make us all successful and money, and then go do whatever you're going to do? Unfortunately, I think that's the reality. Anything else, my friend? What's going on in South Bend? Just kind of cold? Anything else?
I mean, the only thing that, a lot of people are doing is just staying indoors. I mean, it's just been nothing but cold and snow the last few days, and enjoying women's basketball being ranked number 1 for the first time in a while. So it feels pretty good. I mean, and this weather's probably going to disappear a week from now, because that's how this area works. Yeah. It is supposed to get warm. That'll mess up my sinuses all over again when we go from -10 degrees to 40 degrees in a few days or whatever. Hey, my friend, thanks for giving me a call. Always good to hear from good old South Bend area, man. Thanks a lot for calling on a Wednesday. Thanks, John. You have a good day. Have a good one, man. Crystal clear phone lines too. Couple chats, go right back to the calls. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. Good call so far, man. I like the interaction. Look at this. Jerry, White Sox have already been eliminated from the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. You know what I'm thinking about doing, you guys? I'm not a real betting. I don't usually bet on sports or whatever. The majors in golf I'll bet on. I think that's easier to bet in my mind for some reason. I'm literally thinking of just betting like $100 against the White Sox 162 times and then seeing how much money I win. Like, I don't understand. Well, how could you go? I'll just literally every day they have a game, log in and bet $100 against the White Sox, and then we'll just see how much money I make at the end of the year. Well, I like, it's just, John, why did Clayton leave his wife? Nice try. I know what you're trying to do, and you're not going to get me in trouble on this one. Dan, I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Big squeeze is coming, says Dan, and I wonder what that looks like. If you get a big squeeze, what does it look like? Do you got to have everybody else gang up on Notre Dame and say, we're not scheduling these guys till they make a move? So, like, that's the question. If you believe in the big squeeze theory, who do they got to get involved behind the scenes that agrees? We're not doing this Notre Dame stuff, playing nice with them. We're not scheduling them anymore. How does that work? And is it collusion behind the scenes nobody hears about? Or is it just like a thing they put out and go, we're not doing this anymore? I don't know. $5 holler. Action. Thank you. 0 chance the football gods don't punish USC if they try to gimmick schedule themselves into the playoff. It's too much flying around the country for our games. You mean what Notre Dame has been doing for 100 years? Or however long since planes have been a thing, whatever. Like, we've been doing it forever and nobody's crying about it. You just load up the bags and you go to the next game. The big two conspiring against ND is what is happening. It's going to be interesting. Double cheeseburgers are overrated. I would argue double cheeseburgers are one of the finest delicacies in the world, as long as you don't add a bunch of crap on top. A cheeseburger includes the following ingredients: meat, cheese, bread. That's it. You don't need anything else. Anything else is uncivilized. That's why this country's the biggest country in the world. You don't need all that extra stuff. Meat, cheese, bread. The basic food groups.
Mark with glasses. Let's get into the dissertation. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. What's up, Marky Mark?
Oh, not a whole lot. I don't want to embarrass myself any more than I already am about to, so I'm going to keep working on my hot take. Plus, the chat looks like they're out for blood today.
But you saw my notes. I'm still working on it.
Can you give me the general thesis of your dissertation? What is the nature of the experimentation you're currently working on?
I can't without giving it away.
All right. Well, then you work on it. I don't want to rush you. You work on it till it's a work of art.
I'll keep working on it. But since there's no Always Irish newsletter that I'm aware of, I don't know if you saw this, but one of our Always Irish callers is going to be hosting Saturday Night Live on March 1st.
Yeah, I did see that. You know, it's amazing what happens. You know, you get on the Always Irish show and your star just goes right to the top. Yeah, you call in here, and then before you know it, you're on SNL and you're getting national commercials. Good things happen when you dial this number.
Yeah, it could have been me. But it did get me thinking who would be the second best Always Irish caller to host Saturday Night Live. And I think the obvious answer I came up with, just because I want to hear his monologue, is Tom Frolly.
Yeah, I think Tom, you got to light that fuse with Tom, man. He's so like Catholic and respectful and well thought and calm and everything when I talk to him. But if you light that fuse, baby, there goes Tom. And it's just he is a joy. He's a joy.
Yeah. He once asked me in the chat one time if I ever smiled or laughed. I can't remember how he put it. And I was laughing out loud. It was so funny, especially coming from him, a guy that sounds like he's got a body in his trunk, you know, the way he talks.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. But to the topics today, the idea of playoff expansion, I think they just need to leave well enough alone, figure out the top four seeds. I think it's just overreaction since they went 1-3. And, you know, I think there's this rush to try to justify the conference championship games. But, you know, that Ward Manuel said a team not playing can never pass a team that plays in the conference championship game. So
I did see that.
That's their kind of way of justifying the game, the risk reward. So if Oregon beats Penn State 100-0 and Penn State's starting lineup all hurt, nothing changes. So, and, you know, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But, you know, with the conferences having all the power, I guess that's the way it is.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's a tough needle to thread if you're Notre Dame. Like, do you think we're going to get squeezed eventually? Or do you think we'll be able to last it out trying to do the independent but be involved in the playoff?
Yeah, it's like every year we're going to do this where we have to reassess, you know, everything there is under the umbrella of college football. It's ridiculous. And with the USC thing and the AD saying an ideal world, they'll continue the series. And Lincoln Riley hinted at it, you know, and it's like, you know, an ideal world, I'm on a beach right now eating a cheeseburger. Like, I don't know what the hell that even means.
Yeah.
And I think with them that these last few years, you know, they're below 500 in the Big Ten, and, you know, this importance they're putting on the travel. Like this last year, they had five true road games, and they lost 4 of the 5. The only one they won was UCLA in the Rose Bowl. So, like, apparently that's their excuse is why they're not any good, is because they can't travel.
Yeah, I guess it's just, and it's funny to me because you didn't, it's like that the AD, when I was reading her comments about the travel and all that, it's almost like she never considered that until now. Like, you didn't know when you were negotiating to leave the Pac-12 and get into the Big Ten that you're going to end up traveling all over the country based on geography. Like, it's not a shock. It couldn't have just, it didn't sneak up on her. That's always been there.
Yeah, but I do think it's under consideration. They're putting feelers out, and if you look at their schedule, next year they open with Missouri State from the Missouri Valley Conference and Georgia Southern from the Sun Belt. Ooh. So they're making a concerted effort to lighten the schedule because they're, 15-11 last 2 years. Like, they're looking for wins. They keep throwing money at the problem, and now they got Rob Ryan looking like a slob out there, and
So, Mark, I don't know, man. It's really, really interesting, and I want to see where Notre Dame falls in all this. I don't know, man. Let me ask this, Mark. If you expand this playoff, it gives every team more margin, right, to be able to lose more games and still be included in the field. Is there any way that helps more teams feel like they want to schedule Notre Dame because you have a bigger net and you're not as worried about like losing a non-conference early season game to Notre Dame and then missing the playoff? Like, maybe it goes the other way to where if it's a bigger net, more teams feel free to schedule a big game with Notre Dame. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I kind of side on the opposite, where people are going to go out of the way to lighten the schedule.
Yep, and it's just loss prevention, so you just have the least number on that ledger as possible. That's the other end of that equation. Yep.
Yeah, it's just the risk reward of playing losable games, and with the especially the conference schedules, the way they rotate. If you're a Big Ten team and you play Oregon, Michigan, Ohio State on any given year, do you really want to add Notre Dame?
Yeah.
And
I don't know, man. And the other part of all this is the expansion of the Big Ten and the SEC to as many teams as they have now or whatever, man. That is a big deal because you used to kind of look at all those conferences when there was 5 of them relatively equally, like with the amount of schools or whatever. There's just huge practical imbalance now between those two and everybody else. And it's exactly what they always wanted. And now they're there. So you got to give both of those conferences credit for building out this infrastructure because there's just no like equal way to look at any of this now. It's those two and everybody else.
Yeah. And last thing, I don't know if you saw this, but I saw it on Twitter this morning that there's a 3.1% chance an asteroid hits the Earth in 2032. My question is, can we win championship before then? Stop this 45-year drought? It'll be 45 years in 2032. Think we could go out on a high note?
I think we should, you know what we should do for that? We'll time it up and we'll have a tailgate in the North lot and then we'll watch it all end together. How about that, Mark?
I got to think in the next 7 years we can at least get one out.
But. Yeah, you would think. I've been saying that my whole life, though, and now look at me. Where's that gotten me?
Yeah, well, that's all I got. Thanks for taking
my
call.
Wait. One more. Wait, I got a question, though. Wait, any follow-up with the Krogers? What's the – I need a Kroger update. Are you emailing your complaint, or what did you do?
Yeah, all they did was send me the stupid customer comment card. And it's like they want me to put my whole email into their format.
Yeah, and then you're going to get emails about all the discounts every single day. You're going to get they want to capture your information. Don't fall for it. Give them a dummy email.
And my wife's like, I got to go to that store,
They're going to have a picture. You're going to be on the most wanted list, man. And they're just going to have a picture of your profile picture there. Don't let this guy into Kroger.
Well, it's a long off season, so this is something for me to do. So I'll keep you updated, but I'm not going to let this slide.
Yeah, you should maintain that axe to grind, and give me a call when your dissertation is complete. Thanks, Mark.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
See ya. Oh, that's funny. And couple more chats. Back to the calls. Good callers today. $10 holler for the WPP. Yeah, you know me. Only one way to avoid the squeeze. Keep propping up the ACC, but I fear that is becoming a fool's errand. Yeah, that's interesting. It's and with that, didn't they just announce that they're trying to retool Notre Dame's scheduling deal with the ACC to ensure that Notre Dame plays 2 of the 3 big brand names each year? So you could avoid, Syracuse and Pitt and BC and all this stuff and play the big boy. So isn't it Miami, Florida State, and Clemson? They want to redo that ACC agreement with Notre Dame that we would play 2 of those 3 each year to kind of keep this interesting. I don't know. Chicago's very own Tom Frolly. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, oh my God. What a great show today, John. I mean, Mark with glasses, that's hilarious. No, I can guarantee I don't have any bodies in my trunk.
That's exactly what somebody would say who has bodies in their trunk.
No. My bark is a lot bigger and worse than my bite.
I know.
It's just only when it's like here. So Saturday night, I had to go to a surprise 60th birthday party. Now you got 60-year-olds and 50 and 60-year-olds mostly at the party, and there's always that ball buster that's there. I come walking in, I got a pullover, a Notre Dame pullover, and one of the haters right away doesn't say hi, how are you, God bless you, go screw yourself, nothing. Starts right in on the Notre Dame hate. And he does this every time he sees me, and I say, you know what? I just looked at him, I said, what's it like to walk around with that much hate in your heart for anything?
Yeah,
you must be a miserable man.
The other thing is, the other thing, Tom, is you can have that in your heart, but not always unleash it on everybody every minute. Like, what if you just want to go to a party and relax? Like, who needs that? Like, just because you feel it doesn't mean you need to unleash it everywhere you go whenever you get the chance. Have a little discretion.
Well, and see, that's what gets me angry, and that's especially with the vitriol from the Ohio State fans leading up to the game and everything, and. They just, look, I know I carry my heart on my sleeve for Notre Dame. Everybody knows that.
I've noticed.
No big secret.
Yeah, I've
but you know what? I know other people have that same feeling for whatever they're passionate about. And I never kick sand in their face. Never. I wouldn't do that to a Miami fan or a Michigan fan. I can't stand those people. But I'm not going to do that to them. So, it's just whatever. But look, This whole changing of the platform. So, like West Palm, Pat brought up an interesting thing talking about bringing in the 18-year-old kids. And, well, if you look at it, there's only 250 players a year that get drafted, right? 250 kids that actually can make an NFL roster every year. So out of thousands of college football players, the receiver, Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State. He's once in a generation. Yeah, he could probably make an NFL roster right now. But there's not many other 18-year-olds. I mean, God, I was a pretty good football player in my day. And I can tell you, just the jump from good high school ball to good junior college ball was a big jump. When you get up to the next level of major college football and that jump to the NFL, it's huge.
Yeah.
That's why they get paid the big bucks. I mean, that's a man's game. Yeah. So there's not, I'll tell you what, there's not too many 18-year-old linemen or linebackers that can play that.
Yeah, that's the big one. I think I think of that, man, it's just grown ass men. And that's always been the argument I heard is physically the bodies are not prepared. And the NBA or baseball is not the same kind of physicality. So I don't know. And then Tom, what do you make of this expansion stuff? Where is it good for Notre Dame? Is it bad for Notre Dame? Where does Notre Dame fit into this new reality as it changes?
I think they stay right where they are right now. So this latest tweak they made with the ACC, let's face facts, they just saved the ACC conference last month when they entered into that. So, okay, yeah, we'll play Clemson, Florida State, and Miami.
Yeah.
take, every year, and then whoever else. So you throw a Boston College rivalry game in. Boston College is on the upswing, and you get maybe you get a nasty team every 5 or 6 years, or a halfway decent North Carolina State or North Carolina team. Now you got a pretty formidable schedule. I don't know what's going to happen outside of that. I mean, if USC drops it, it's tantamount to Oklahoma and Nebraska not playing every year, which is ridiculous. I really think when they started all this stuff, there was too much of a bad perfect storm with the NIL, the transfer portal, and going to the super conferences without having a legitimate sit down with the college, and like you were talking about earlier, the state, the land grant universities, the state schools, their chancellors and their university presidents and the athletic directors, all they saw were dollar signs from the television contract. They don't care. Like the caller previous to Mark with glasses. So what are you going to do about, what's South Carolina and some of these other state schools going to do the players that don't go to education? What they've been doing for the last 60 years.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing's going to change there, except those kids will get a little bit of money on the way out. Now, hopefully, depending on the institution, you would hope that they teach these kids some financial literacy and give them a helping hand so that they don't go blow all that money, before they even leave school. So there's a lot to this, leading into the 2023 season. Remember what Chip Kelly said. He said when Notre Dame was taking heat for sticking to their guns and being an independent, he actually said he'd like to get rid of conferences altogether, make it more, that way you can schedule. If everybody's independent, well, then you've got the top, 124 or 130 teams, and you negotiate all the television contracts, everybody gets the same amount of money, and now you can go back to some regional rivalries. And I don't know if it's a good deal. I don't know if it's a workable idea, but it makes sense on paper, because then you could actually drop one of those cupcake early games and incorporate more of the bowl games in a first and second round playoff scenario. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but that takes planning, and it takes a commissioner and a board of governors to do that. And right now, do you think Oklahoma State has the same wants and desires outside of winning that Purdue has? You got there's different dichotomies at every place, especially the state schools, So it's gonna be very hard to get everybody on board.
Yeah.
And how does it affect Notre Dame? I don't think it really does, unless they continue to put the squeeze on them. If they all decide, all right, we're going to drop Notre Dame off the schedule, then they're going to be forced to join the conference. So then they flip the Big Bird to the Big Ten and go join the ACC full time. That's all.
Interesting.
And then if they did, you know what I'm saying? So let's say that happens in the next couple of years, and Notre Dame has to become a full-fledged member of the ACC. They're still going to piss and moan about Notre Dame. Well, they didn't choose the Big Ten, or they didn't go to the ACC. Wait a second. I thought the argument for years is you wanted them to join a conference. It'll never be good enough for the haters. So piss on them.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Notre Dame's unique.
And you know what else? I trust Pipa Vacqua too. He seems very level-headed.
I do too.
He seems very modern. He seems completely in reality as far as like what's going on. And so I do trust his leadership. It's just a matter of how much maneuvering he can do when you're outnumbered as bad as you are and all this kind of stuff. Tom, Kent Jackson, the Ohio State fan, he wants me to tell you to unblock him. He wants to become friends. It looks like you blocked him in the chat.
Okay. All right. Tell him in the Latin words of the priest, Dominus Vobiscum. Go and sin no more, baby.
Tom, you're a joy, man. You are Chicago's very own. Anything else, buddy? I hope you're staying warm.
Yeah, nothing. I'm just getting ready to go see my new girlfriend down in Florida in a couple of weeks, and I can't wait to get out of this weather.
Ooh, good for you, Tom. I'll be down there in a few weeks too, man. Imagine fancy seeing you out at some bar along the inlet there or something.
Yeah, well,
have fun, Tom.
we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Have
All
fun,
right, brother.
buddy.
Listen, God bless. Go Irish.
Go
We'll talk to you
Irish.
later.
Have a good one. Look at Tom dropping the little girlfriend action. I like it, Tom. You're the man. You're the man, Tom. I hope his girlfriend doesn't drop on him. Oh, by the way, Tom, I like Ohio State or something. That'll be the last time he ever talks to her. That's for sure. 574, Kevin. I think 60 is probably the limit for surprise birthday parties. Anything elder's getting risky. I'm with you on that one. It's like, happy birthday, Grandma. Too many surprises. It might be the last surprise you get. It might be the last surprise you get. Vaughn, ND is greedy. Join a conference or shut up. Wait a second. Why can't I flip it? All these other teams that can't support themselves and need the support of a whole nother network of people because they don't have a big enough brand and can't make their own money. I think that's greedy. If you can't make it on your own, you shouldn't be making it at all. What do you think of that answer, Theo Vaughn? Why is Notre Dame greedy? All we do is mind our own business. All we do is mind our own business, and we don't need a bunch of handouts from everybody else. If everybody else can't do that, that's not my problem. That's not my problem. You know what time it is. Give me 10 seconds. Back to the phone. We are back. You guys, are you describing the weather outside? It is quite icy. Don't talk bad about Theo Vaughn. I like Theo Vaughn. Theo Vaughn's hilarious. 857, what's going on? Welcome to the show. Thanks for the donation.
How are you doing, John?
I'm doing very well, my friend. We're just in a weird in-between here, man. I after the come down of the season and you're in between, you're not spring ball yet, and we're thinking about a lot of things. What's on your mind?
Yeah, less than a month to go. I can't wait till those first reports start coming out. Oh wow. But no, I'm thinking about this playoff schedule. I think Notre Dame is fine in this. I think even the new schedule, look, do I like auto bids? No. But the way they set this one up, if you did a straight ranking, I think they're partying at the Big 12, if anything. I mean, if we're going to expand anyways to 14 or 16, this year that would have meant like Alabama, Ole Miss, Miami, South Carolina.
Yep. Like,
if anything, the Big 12 getting a second one in there, that's kind of a give by the big conferences because the Big 10 already had four. The SEC, I forget what they had, 3 or 4. But they're always going to be, because they recruit well, they have good strength of schedule. They're always going to be like cramming the rankings, I think. And so in a way, I don't mind it, especially for Notre Dame. Notre Dame, even when we weren't as good as we are now, like when we had 2-3 losses, we had like a soft schedule, ending up in the top 14, 15, 10-2, 9-3, it's like kind of where you expect them to end up anyways. So I don't mind it for Notre Dame at all.
Yeah,
and the other thing too,
I get that.
So,
I get the way you're looking at that. And like, even if you account for those auto bids and all that stuff, if Notre Dame's just doing what they're going to do, they're going to fall somewhere in the middle in the pack of those rankings and be okay. Like, I get that.
And I think there's a bigger shift though. The reason why the USC thing has me so fired up, I mean, we should have not McCullough anymore. We should have Sider and Mickens, whoever else is recruiting. We should be heavily recruiting against USC about like how low their ambitions are. I think right now in major college football, there's teams that get it and there's teams that don't. And the teams that get it are, frankly, like Notre Dame, Ohio State, for, I can't stand some of their fans, but like they do schedule some marquee matchups. They got Texas coming up this year.
Yeah.
They're going to play Alabama down the road. Obviously, we played each other the past couple years. They're going to play Georgia like in the 30s. Notre Dame schedule's the same way. As much as people like to rag on the schedule, we have Texas twice, Alabama twice. We're wrapping up A&M. We have Miami twice.
Yep.
And the part that we quote unquote can't control, the ACC, we're using our leverage to get the marquee matchups and boost our schedule that way. It's the total opposite to the USC approach. And I think it's so silly of USC because think about what we just went through in terms of the playoffs this past year. We had 3 lost teams like Alabama and Ole Miss who were still in the conversation. Why? Because they scheduled hard. And most of that was in conference, but they scheduled hard. They didn't shy away from it, right? We had a Miami team really not in the conversation, even with 2 losses, because they were kind of weak. They were kind of weak in conference. They were kind of weak out of conference. But SMU, same couple losses. Like they lost to a very respectable, like pretty good BYU team that whooped Colorado. Right. At the end of the day, when it comes down to deciding between these 2 or 3 lost teams, if you try to schedule your way around it, it's like gerrymanders, right? Like sometimes you gerrymander one year, but the next year you get like totally blown out the doors the other way. If you schedule soft, unless you like totally run the table, it doesn't work out. Like it's not going to get you into playoffs. And if by some let's say you Indiana your way in, like they did this past year, if you get in, all right, like the money you make from not getting to the title game, the money you make from a first round exit or a second round exit, it's the same as if someone else in your place had done it because you got to share with the conference. So it doesn't matter if you're the 4th Big Ten team, like in terms of your prestige or your money or anything like that, because you got to share it anyways.
Yeah.
So like, what is USC playing for? They're trying to hang the banner for being like the 10 seed. Is that like, and there are teams, if I'm looking at this team long-term, like sure, they have all the buzz right now. Like their recruiting class is looking great. Oregon's recruiting better than they are. They're going to be a mainstay. Ohio State is Ohio State. Michigan's on the up and up. Penn State, like for all their flaws, is around the pack. If there's 4 teams in, your 10-2 is much more at risk than those other teams that actually schedule well.
Yeah.
I looked up, so I already talked about who Notre Dame's scheduling. This is who USC has. I would show this to every recruit who's even considering them. This is who USC has out of conference and in the future years. Ready? It's not just Missouri State and Georgia Southern. Besides Notre Dame, this year and next, Fresno State, UNLV, Nevada. That's the ambition of that program. That's Snoop Dogg, Reggie Bush, Hollywood. The ambition of that program is to play like mid to low tier teams in the Mountain West.
Yeah, I did.
It's going to backfire on them.
I mean, they probably figured the strength of the in-conference Big Ten schedule's plenty tough, that if they take care of business, they're going to be fine. That must be what they're figuring, right?
But if they lose 2, they're going to be in the top 4. But if they lose 3, they're not going to be in the top 14 or the top 16 or whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
And their margin for error, you can give Ohio State margin for error, right? Because people will be like, okay, Ohio State, if you lose to Oregon and then Michigan, fine. You have brand name. You have a track record. What's USC's track record? Like Caleb Williams put up some offensive stats. Okay.
Yeah. It is clear the transition from into the Big Ten has not gone as smoothly for USC as they had hoped. It is clear the Lincoln Riley experience has not gone as smoothly as they hoped. They really, really thought they were going to dominate West Coast recruiting. I think they thought they were going to be able to get all that talent, and they're just not. I got something beeping in my sump pump. I'll be right back. I got problems, you guys. The line's got to be frozen. So let me go. Can you guys hear that? Let me go hit this button. Be back in 10 seconds. It's always something down here. I swear, I got nothing but problems, you guys. Nothing but problems. The sump pump line freezes, and then the backup picks up, and then it's beeping, driving me nuts. Sorry.
Last thing I'll say is I don't think that we're going to get squeezed into a conference or anything like that because of the scheduling that we've done. If you're the SEC, you have two of your biggest programs. You have Texas and Alabama about to play us in the next 5 to 6 years. If you're the Big Ten, we're trying to bring the Michigan rivalry back. We're trying to bring the Michigan State rivalry back. We have Wisconsin on the books. No, these teams know, like, those are money making. Whether it's on ESPN or Fox or Peacock, they know that those are going to be some of their best ticket sales, some of their best TV ratings. It's going to be some of the most watched games that they can get. And I think that the level of respect for Notre Dame actually has gone up in the last 1 to 2 years. I mean, in the playoffs after the terrorist attack in New Orleans, I know we beef with SEC fans a lot. One thing I really respected was it was the SEC commissioner, Sankey or whatever his name is. He wanted to get the Orange Bowl postponed by a day to have it be fairer for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
There was no SEC teams left.
Yeah, that was.
And so I think that there was yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right about that. I caught on to that too.
I think there is a newfound respect for not just the independents, but how it is good for these conferences. If you ever want to have us join, you have to play nice for like a decade, I think, especially the Big Ten for various reasons involving prejudice and history. But like, you have to play nice for a decade and give Notre Dame sort of a special spot in whatever. And I think the new playoff actually does get us a special spot. You have to give us a special spot in your vision for the world, because when we are good, I'm not just saying this as a fan, we are good. It is good for the sport. It is good for everyone's money, and it's good for eyeballs and merchandise and tickets and all of that.
Yeah.
And I think the level of respect for the program is higher now, and it will be higher for the next 5 years than in a long, long time.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. Hey, man, I appreciate the call on a Wednesday, and thanks for the donation as well. Don't be a stranger.
Yeah, have a good one, John.
Have a good one. Thanks a lot. All right, let's try and do one more call, and then I got to go. I'm going to bundle up and go outside and then do what I got to do to get the water so it doesn't come in the basement, man. I got problems. 386, what's going on?
Hey, John, how are you, man? You're sounding better.
Yeah, you know what? I'm starting to feel a little better. I could tell my energy's coming back. It's been a rough road, but I mean, hey, it is what it. I'm not complaining, man. It was just the flu. It's not like I'm laying here dying.
Yeah, all good. Dude, so here's my thoughts. Is it not, like, in your opinion, a good thing? Notre Dame is, like, in the best position, I think. We're not in a conference. We're avoiding all of this crazy chaos. We have a major TV deal with a prime network. In my eyes, we're kind of just sitting back. We just made a title run. Obviously, if we go 10-2, 11-1, 12-0, we are in the playoff. In my personal opinion, let all of this chaos ensue. We'll be fine, because we can literally make a call to any of these conferences if it came down to it and join them. There's not one single conference that would turn us down.
That's a good point. That's a good point. If you needed to do it, you're going to have a lot of options that would be pretty fun. I'm sorry. I know everybody craps on the Big Ten, and we're predisposed to not like them. Man, a Notre Dame Big Ten schedule would be amazing. I mean, you could say what you want about not wanting to be forced to do it. I'm telling you, man, that would be an amazing schedule week to week. It would be great.
It'd be great. And you'd have, rivalry matchups almost every single week. There's enough teams in the Big Ten that are, elite, borderline elite. We can make it happen. Do I see us joining the SEC? Absolutely not. But the Big Ten just seems like a fit. We're in that geographic area. We've got the rivalries there. But that's what I keep coming back to with all this. Who cares about all the conference stuff? Let these teams take their 4 automatic bids. If I don't agree with it, but if that's what they want to do, well, guess what? The SEC and the Big Ten, they've got the leverage. So if they want to try to pull that, by all means, go for it. But if Notre Dame takes care of business and we're 10-2, 11-1, we are going to be in the playoff. Like, we will be there, and there's just no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's man, I don't know. I trust Pete Bavacqua's leadership. I keep going back to that. I think it's one thing for Notre Dame to have a seat at the table, but it's a different thing for me to trust the guy sitting at the table on behalf of Notre Dame. And I just think Pete Bavacqua's very forward thinking, but also with the respect he has for Notre Dame's history and all that as a student and understanding the whole Notre Dame thing. I think that's the kind of guy you want sitting at the table to negotiate some of these things when it comes down the line.
I think so too. I totally agree with that. And one of the things that you look at this, the timeline of Jack's tenure, And the timeline of Pete Bavacqua coming in at this moment when all of this stuff is going on, with how, maybe hip he is to the new times, you can't beat that. And you combo that with a young, charismatic coach in Marcus.
Yeah.
It just seems like we've kind of got a little bit of a perfect storm between an AD, a head coach who's really making strides here. I'm with you. I feel comfortable with where we're at with this.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't like the feeling of being outnumbered and all that and outpowered, but that's just kind of the dynamic we're in, and you just have to work within it because the numbers are what the numbers are. Vaughn says ND is a middle of the pack team in the Big Ten. It's just funny though. It's like, yeah, and I also hear they would be a bottom third team in the SEC, and then they went and beat the SEC champion in a playoff game. So it's like, okay. Notre Dame loses every game that never happens except for in people's mind. I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, and just keep having seasons like we did. Eventually that will turn around. Maybe not. There's always going to be haters out there. So it is what it is from that perspective. But, yeah, I don't know. I think we're in a good spot. It sucks to be outnumbered. But guess what? Like, being independent and doing your own thing, that's what's going to happen. You're going to be on the lone wolf side of things. Yep. But it looks like, so far, we're navigating it just fine.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's interesting to see these things evolve in a sport where like tradition used to rule and there was changes made very slow. Like when I was growing up, this is a wild new situation because it's just these changes are not only are they big changes, but they come fast these days, man. They come fast.
And do you think that they're coming fast because these, like the ACC and the Big Ten, or SEC and the Big Ten, for example, maybe things didn't play out as they wanted to. They didn't get as many teams as they wanted to in the tournament. So it's like, okay, well, we have all this leverage. We're going to start pushing buttons to get what we want.
Yeah.
That's why I think things are happening quicker.
Yes. And those are the two power players and everybody knows it. And it's just the way it is. And so, of course, those two are saying, what can we reconfigure here to give us the best advantage? And that's probably what you should do. And if your team is in those conferences, you would want them advocating in this way. So I don't know. Notre Dame's just got to keep playing good football, throw their hat in the playoff ring every year and try and win some games, man. I don't know. Anything else, my friend? Thanks for calling in warm Florida compared to here.
Yeah, dude, we're chilling at 75 right now, nice and sunny. I hear you're coming down in a couple weeks, so get out of the cold, man. Come on down, do some shows from the back porch. Yep. It's always entertaining when you do this.
Yeah, so that's gonna be it, man. I'll be posting up out there, and then we'll see if the trend continues. Every time I'm down there, some Notre Dame news breaks, good or bad, and we're going to see if we maintain that trend. Every single time I go to Florida, man, I get off that plane, open my phone, and some Notre Dame news has happened. So we're going to see. But I'll be down there in a few weeks, and I'll enjoy the weather, man. Thanks a lot.
You got it, Johnny. Have a good day, man. I'll talk to you later.
Have a good one. All right, you guys. I got to bundle up and go outside and try and chip some ice out of my my drainage pipe here so I don't have to listen to the motor burn up on the sump pump. It's always something, always something, always something. This was a really good show, though, for this part of the year. Thanks for the donations. Thanks for the chats. Thanks for the calls. I really enjoyed this. You guys have really good thoughts, and I really appreciate you being here in the off season when there isn't a lot going on. That's what keeps us going year round. Really appreciate you guys. Even the trolls. Have a good Wednesday.